A group of tourists watched a demonstration put on by the Royal Artillery of the Queen. The six-man team worked flawlessly with precision. Actually, only 5 of them worked with precision. One of these soldiers stood about 25 yards away from the cannon, and he stood at attention during the entire exhibition, doing nothing, essentially. After the exhibition, one of the tourists asked the staff officer to explain the duty of the man standing off to the side. "Well, he's number 6, came the reply. "Well, yes, but what does he do?" "He stands at attention." "Well, yes, I know, but why does he stand at attention?" No one knew why number 6 stood at attention. None of the other 5 soldiers knew. The man himself didn't know, and even the commanding officer didn't know. After many hours of research through old training manuals, it became clear what number 6 was supposed to do. He was supposed to hold the horses, which by this time they may not have had them in use for this, and that's why he's just sort of standing off useless. So why was number 6 standing at attention? Well, because he was appointed to do so. Did he have any idea what he was really supposed to be doing? No. And I'm afraid that there are too many husbands and fathers that are simply standing there, motionless, like the 6th man in the Royal Artillery. They're not making that much difference in their homes because they're not really sure what they're supposed to be doing. They're supposed to be holding horses, but they don't know that. And too many men today have no idea what their job is. And their job is to save the boys. Now, today's devotional for Father's Day comes from Steve Farrar and his book, Point Man. William Raspberry, a black columnist with the Washington Post, wrote this. He said, "If I could offer a single prescription for the survival of America, and particularly black America, it would be to restore the family. And if you ask me how to do it, my answer, doubtlessly oversimplified, would be save the boys." Now, tragically, the black family in modern America has largely lost its boys. The enemy has effectively removed black males from their God-appointed positions of leadership and responsibility, and he has the same goal in mind for the rest of America. He may use different methods to achieve his goal, but his strategy is the same. Destroy the boys by neutralizing the males. And unfortunately, he seems like he's well on his way to achieving this throughout our society. The cycle repeats itself generation after generation. Richard John Newhouse puts it on the table when he says, "Millions of children do not know and will never know what it means to have a father. More poignantly, they do not know anyone who has a father or is a father, at least in the sense of being somebody who takes responsibility for being a father to children." It takes imagination to begin to understand the intergenerational consequences of this situation. It is reasonable to ask whether in all of human history we have had an instance of a large population in which the institution of family has simply disappeared. It is reasonable and ominous, for the answer is almost certainly no. There is no historical precedent supporting the hope that the family, once it has disappeared, can be reconstituted. No, Raspberry did not oversimplify the solution. We must save the boys. I must save my boys. You must save yours. If you don't have boys, then your energy should go into saving your girls. And I know because I have a special daughter. Little boys and little girls must both be saved if the family in the next generation is going to have any kind of fighting chance. So whether it's all boys in your home or all girls or a mixture of both, it's our job to provide a model that will equip them to confidently take on the responsibilities of life and marriage. Our children are going to need godly spouses with whom they can raise the next generation for Christ. If our boys are ill-equipped or not equipped to lead families, then the families of the next generation will not have leaders. and neither will the next generation, for it becomes a vicious epidemic that multiplies with each successive generation. Black America today is in crisis because so many men abandoned their God-appointed roles. And today, the rest of America is on the same track, racing like a bullet train to the same inevitable destination. Satan's strategy to counteract God's plan is a shrewd one. He simply focuses on luring men away from their God-given responsibilities. And so instead of being committed to a one-woman in marriage relationship, a man gives into the temptation to wander sexually, and the children are left without a father. Add to this that in today's culture there is this growing confusion regarding sexuality and gender, and God's original designs are being twisted and leaving children in total chaos. As Christian men, we need to take our fathering responsibilities very seriously, because not only is the future of our children at stake, but also that of other children who lack a father and who are in need of someone to observe, someone who can mentor them in a role that they never learned. Did you have a godly father? How about a godly grandfather? If so, then you need to give a special thanks and praise to God today, because so many don't. If you didn't have a godly father, and we understand that no father is ever going to be perfect, right? At least humanly speaking. But if you are a follower of Christ, then you can know that you do have a perfect father in God, and you can be adopted into his family. The church more and more must become a surrogate family to children and youth who are lost. If you didn't have a godly father, then I want you to know that you can break this cycle. Despite what Richard Newhouse said about not being sure if a family could be restored once it was lost, we do know that Jesus is a Savior, rescuer, and restorer who can make all things new. That doesn't mean it will be easy, but with Jesus, even those of you who didn't have a good father model can learn and be empowered to start a new trend in your family that you can then pass on to future generations. I believe that marriage and family is where Christians are going to be able to make probably the biggest impact and biggest difference in this generation today, because there are so many people who haven't seen a positive example of marriage and family that we will stand out if we have that. But of course, we need to be praying and we need to be on guard and intentional, because Satan knows that if he can take out Christian marriages, if he can take out Christian families, then there will be nothing standing in the way of his destroying the family and in turn our society.